Well, the other thing is I like what you're talking about, and if everybody's listening right here, regulation isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about not letting the emotions drive the bus. And so you're not denying the emotions. You feel it, you acknowledge it, and then you choose your response rather than just reacting to it. Hey, Shannon, we are
Hi,
back.
Chico. Yeah, we're recording on a later in the evening than we normally do, but it's good. I had to decompress a little bit from my day today.
Yeah, it was
It's kind
kind
of
of
crazy.
wild.
Can I talk
Yes.
about it a little bit?
Yeah, let's unpack it
Well,
real
because I think
quick.
it does.
This isn't
It
this isn't our topic, but this
no, but
does apply
well,
to what's going
it
on.
will it will kind of go in because I went to the office today, and Chico and I had an appointment together. We share an office, and I was leaving, and my car was unlocked. And it automatically locks as I walk away from it. And so I was like, "Oh, that's so weird. My car's unlocked." And then when I got in, I noticed that some things had been shuffled around. I noticed immediately my sunglasses were gone because I live with sunglasses, and the case was gone, and the glove box was open, and it had been rifled through. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I can't believe I didn't lock my door, or my key didn't lock my door, because it's supposed to automatically lock.
When you walk
And
away.
yeah. And so, it was a case of trusting technology when you should mind your P's and Q's and have some self awareness, which is a little bit about what we're going to talk about today eventually. But, and then I noticed I got out of the car because I was like, this is so weird. And my driver's seatbelt was plugged in. And so I was like, huh. I was like, somebody plugged in my seatbelt for some reason. And then as I got out, a girl walked up. She'd been walking her dog. She was like my little angel today because she said, "Oh my
Kylie. Let's
gosh,
give Kylie a shout out.
I know. I just didn't want to say her name because what if she's like missing work?" There's lots of Kylies. In fact, your goddaughter is a Kylie. But what if she's like missing work and she didn't want anybody to know? It's like, anyway. But she was walking her dog, and she saw this all kind of going down in my car, and she was taking pictures, but she was like, I just kept telling myself, I froze, but I kept telling myself, don't look, don't make eye contact, don't make eye contact, but get the pictures, get the pictures. And she was so close to the situation. And I think they saw her and they got spooked and they left. But it turns out, after talking to the police and all the things, that they were indeed trying to steal my car. And they were in a stolen car trying to steal another car. And so, and he had a
But let
hoodie
me paint
on.
the picture real
Okay.
quick. Okay, hey, we're in Dallas. My office is uptown. There's a big church right down the street. There's a high school down the
It's a
street.
busy situation.
Yes, it's a
Yeah, middle of the day.
and it's a parking lot that is not covered. There's nothing there. And this Range Rover pulls up right behind your car, and so this girl got the pictures of the Range Rover, but these
Well,
people
what she noticed was the people were in masks, hoodies, and blue jeans.
yeah, and they're
like
rifling
covered,
through, and so
head to toe. She was like, not
we
normal radar.
yes, and so it was like the broad daylight.
And so I had to come
crazy.
kind of, and so what I was going to say is I had to come kind of decompress because it's violating, it's threatening, it's scary. They have your address from my insurance card, or they could have it. It just, all the realization starts to set in. And then I talked to the police, and they were like, yes, they were indeed trying to steal your car. That's how we're reporting it, because of all the things and the story and the pictures. And so then we started doing some research on how to avoid that, because I started to feel very helpless, because there was nothing I could have done to stop them from stealing my car if they had gotten it today. And if the girl had not interrupted and taken some pictures and other things. So I'm so grateful that everyone's okay, because people are crazy everybody's okay. And my car, I still have my car. But at the end of the day, I told her, I texted her afterwards because she texted me the pictures. And then I don't even know her last name. And I was like, oh my gosh, you are such an angel. You're very brave. I'm so thankful that you did that for me, even though it is just a car, because I wouldn't want anyone to lose their life or anything else over a car. But that didn't happen. And, but it made me feel like, how do I protect myself and my car from further violation? So you did a Claude search,
Yes. All right. An AI search. But it was
wow,
cool.
but the information coming at me was like, do I believe it? Do I not believe it? How do I protect myself? Is there a way to protect myself?
But I like what you're saying. Do I believe it or not believe it? And so that's kind of what this episode's about. Is like, man, how do you do more of your own research? How do you really, get in there? So it does kind of play into what our
I know
topic is today. You did. And I'm now kind of tracking with you and thinking about it. This is good. So what we're doing is we spend a lot of time like watching some different reels on Instagram and stuff like that about therapy, and you have therapists on there talking about it. There's one therapist we really like, Raquel, and what she's saying. And, got my buddy Miles, he's doing a podcast, and I like the information he's putting out there. There's all this stuff happening out there. And we've done some podcasts talking about different things we're doing.
There are comedians kind of parodying, therapy world, like making fun of them. Satire. It's satire, but they are therapists. And so they realize the ridiculousness. And we both watch them and laugh so hard because we realize all the therapy terms. And then Raquel, the capacity expert, talks about a lot about if all trauma is trauma, then if everything is trauma, nothing is trauma. And then she talks about like using therapy language as a weapon, like I need to protect my peace. I need to, I can't talk to you because we are distancing ourselves, or boundaries or whatever. And so a lot of people are reeling all that back in now and saying, you need some self-awareness about what's going on with yourself, without these outside constant influence and little sound bites and reels coming at you. We put out reels every week about our podcast, and so they're just snippets of what we're saying. And in fact,
it's not even the whole thing. And you can
the episode
just grab it.
Of we need to admit we have a problem about marijuana. Just the snippet went on Facebook in particular, and we started to get the hate comments, the haters like, oh, you must work for Big Pharma. And I was like, no, if we worked for Big Pharma, we'd live in a much bigger house and drive much fancier cars, because Big Pharma is like making all the money. But no, we don't work for Big Pharma. They didn't listen to the whole thing. And they
didn't see that we were talking about what the New York Times said, and it was a quote from the New York Times.
And we were talking about kids and the use, and it not being harmless. And we weren't talking anything about medicinal purposes or even recreational at regulated levels that are lower, whatever. I don't want to rehash that, but I'm just saying. People watched one little reel, and it was my first taste of hate.
And
like,
you struggled with it.
Really, yeah. They called us.
And here's the deal.
Appropriate names.
Yeah.
And all. They called us the R word.
Yeah. And Shannon, what was happening there is like, man, you took that personal. And so in a way, this episode is also, man, when we make a mistake, how do we not take things personal?
Right. And I deactivated my Facebook account for a few days because I was like, this is not the purpose of our podcast. And this is also not productive because they weren't even talking about what we were talking about. And so I deactivated it. And then I was like, I can't control the information or how people absorb the information that's out there or how they react. We can only control ourselves. It's like we've talked about before. And so if I can have a self-awareness about how information is making me feel, that's why I deactivated for a time period. I've reactivated it because I'm like, okay, I am not taking this personally. This doesn't have anything to do with me. But we had an incident recently, or I did, where I did make a mistake that I am really struggling with. Yeah.
Yes. You got spun out on a mistake.
Yeah, because it was a honest mistake. I think almost what I told someone today that I called that I was going to tell them about it is I was like, I have all kinds of reasons why the mistake was made and they're justifiable, but they're excuses. I'm not going to use them as excuses. I'm just going to say, I screwed up. And again, it's not. What I did was I misscored some primal question quizzes that I got. And so I mistyped or misguided people on their particular primal question.
And so what was going on when you figured it out? Yeah. So let's unpack that. What went on when you came to this realization just the other day?
The first thought I had was, how on earth did I not see this? Like, it's kind of like when you're looking for your car keys and they are literally right in front of you on the table. And then I started to, then it like split off. Yes, there are your keys. Okay, put them down. And then it starts to splinter off into the scramble. And all the things in my scramble are one.
So pause real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
For those, if this is your first episode, what we're talking about is the primal questions. There's 7 primal questions. Am I safe? Am I secure? Am I loved? Am I wanted? Am I successful? Am I good enough? And do I have a purpose? And so when Shannon's talking about,
and they're a tool I use. I'm certified to coach people through their primal question. And I'm also certified as a professional, executive coach or sobriety coach or whatever it is, and coach and life coach. And so I use it as a tool in my coaching. It is not the bulk of my business, and it's not I don't use that as the primary thing, but I have everybody take the quiz, and I have it's not a diagnosis. I've mistyped or whatever.
You misscored. It was just a scoring.
I know. But in turn, the misscoring gave people their wrong primal question. Okay. And then you're coaching them through it. And when you're coaching someone, if they get a no to their primal question, like if it's, am I safe? And they get a no to that, like today, if mine was, am I safe? I would have been in hypervigilance alert when your car is being stolen underneath your nose and you are in broad daylight and you're in immediate danger with a masked hooded burglar, grand theft, it's a serious crime and you're faced with it. So that would be getting a huge no to my primal question. And so it causes me to scramble anyway, but it would especially cause the scramble. So that's what I mean by the scramble. This scoring caused me to splinter off into, you said originally, how did it make you feel? How did it have you react?
What was going on? That's where I realized to unpack that.
I was getting there. And then you said, let's define the scramble. So we did. So my scramble includes everything from, I like to get a self-awareness of what's going on in your body physically, spiritually, and emotionally. So mind, body, spirit. And my body was shocked. I was a pressure in my chest. I was pressure in my chest, rapid heart rate, starting to have a panic attack. Like, oh my gosh, how bad have I gotten this? And is it going to be terrible? And then I started thinking about
So what were the messages going on internally?
the messages were, well, my primal question is, am I good enough? And so it was like, am I a fraud? Am I a good enough coach? Because if I screw up something this simple, have I led people down a road to nowhere that now I'm going to have to like admit? There was pride in there because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to own this and I'm going to have to auto correct it and whatever. And
So was there
then
insecurity
my
that
physical,
popped up?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Big
I mean,
time insecurity.
insecurity.
And so these false
Well,
messages were going
not
on.
even really insecurity, but more of I wanted to shut down. I wanted to quit.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going
the
to be any
anxiety
good at
level was
this.
high.
It was so high. I was searching for my beta blocker because I needed to slow my heart rate. I was in full on panic, and I'm also having hormonal issues and I don't feel good. And I think it's this way for men and women alike and children. When you don't feel great physically, when you're not in an optimal health situation, it makes everything so much worse.
Intensified. It's intensified. It's like kerosene. Amplified. It's like kerosene on a fire. It just makes the fire bigger and bigger. You're pouring gasoline on it. And so all of a sudden you had this thing where you were scoring the test wrong and you were telling people, hey, you fit in this primal question. And it was just it getting intensified. And you had all this negative talk going on internally that was just kind of getting amplified even there internally. You had this tightness in your chest. And I don't see that any different than just the human condition. Is like all of a sudden we start to believe the lies that we're telling ourselves internally.
Exactly. And, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had a self-awareness of these things. I knew what was happening. I still couldn't stop a lot of it. You know what I mean? You can't stop it in its tracks. That's the human condition, is that it's going to happen and you can't stop it in its tracks. So I was like, get out of your scramble. What do you need to do? You need to ground physically. Like you've got to either, take your beta blocker, go stand outside in your bare feet, something. I had to get control of that. Breathing, prayer, meditation, something. I had to get out of it. And then I had to start investigate my feelings.
So first you identified, okay, you made this mistake, okay?
And I identified how it was making me feel in all categories of my being.
And then, so we talk about this a bunch as we identify and then we investigate, then we regulate. So first you identified, okay, I've been scoring this wrong. And then you got into this physically, you had this tightness in your chest and you had this anxiety going on. And then you were identifying that you had all these false narratives and messages going on in your head. And so you're identifying that. Then you investigate, okay, what's happening, not just internally in my body, but what else is going on? I'm believing these lies.
Right. And then you think, oh my gosh, am I going to have to? I've been watching these reels that we were talking about by therapists and coaches, kind of not over analyzing, but over complicating what's going on with people. Like that one comedian therapist. Well, he's not really a comedian. He's a therapist, but he does all these satires. Like he's like
spoofs on being a therapist.
Spoofs on, and he comes up with these big word, diagnoses for.
And he turns his glasses upside down.
When he does one that I can't remember the diagnosis name, but it's for people that their parents said will see too much, like, and never followed through. Like if you ask, can we go to the amusement park? We'll see. And he said, there's a diagnosis for that when your parents said that and never followed through. it's laughable, at this point because it's funny. But I was afraid that I just started spinning thinking, oh my gosh, we've already walked through how other people can be self-aware and having an awareness of your primal question is a huge part of that. So I'm going to have to go like do this mumbo jumbo talk about, hey, I meant everything I said because I do. It does work. There are awarenesses, the whole self-awareness, all that works in coaching. So the message does not change for me. It's just a little tweaking of the information that you're absorbing or, I was thinking all those things. Like I was like, I don't want to sound like an idiot that's trying to cover my mistake
You didn't want to rationalize. You didn't want
to
to rationalize, justify, and minimize. You wanted to own it. And so you're owning it. And during the process of owning it, you're still having these feelings. And so it's you're identifying and investigating and going, I don't need to deny these feelings. That doesn't, and I like it. It's like
I had to ride the wave.
Feelings are real, okay? But they're not, lots of times they're not truth. And so that's the big thing. It's like most people think their feelings are truth, and they're having these feelings and you're recognizing, okay, I know this logically. These are just feelings. It doesn't define me. It doesn't identify me. But man, I am wrestling with this. I am feeling a little phony. I am feeling, taking on everybody else and assuming things that are bad, which isn't true.
And then in the process, like I started to own it. I started small, telling certain people like, hey, we need to revisit this and blah, blah, blah. And I got great responses from, oh, wait, I want to hear more about this because let's re-talk about this. And I'm like, yes, that's great. And then I've heard, what? I hadn't even read mine or I haven't thought about that since we did it. Why are you worried about that? What, like total confusion of
okay,
why
and then
I
you
would
got
even be
another
worried.
response today of, this woman that was going, oh, you don't need to feel bad. I mean, getting into taking care of your feelings because you were opening up and sharing right here on this screen, and it was like, and that's all right too.
And then I've had
could,
some. Go ahead.
People are forgiving. People, especially if you own your stuff, and so you're being vulnerable right now.
Gotten back to me. Some that haven't gotten back to me, and so that's where you have to be aware that your brain. It's Easter week. It was Easter weekend. Like people have plans and family obligations, and they're out of town and they're off work. Like they don't need to take care of my scramble or my feelings. So there are certain people that I've reached out to that haven't even responded. And that's okay. I'm okay with that but I had to ride the wave of it. It made me feel like they were possibly angry at me. So that's the insecurity is that, oh my gosh, how are people going to react to this? Because wow. And when people aren't even thinking about it. And so that intellectually, but you still can't stop. You have to ride that wave. And we all have to do it. It's the human condition, I think. And so I am just grateful for the self-awareness that I have from doing the work on my own self-awareness to stop. And it's taken a few days. I haven't slept great the past 3 nights.
Have you been having dreams? Have you been restless? What is going on?
No, it's so for me, I've talked a lot with my girlfriends about this when we talk about hormones and things like that. Just, people are like, do you have trouble sleeping? And I really don't. I don't have trouble getting to sleep or I don't have trouble getting in my bed. That's for sure. And then I don't really have trouble staying asleep. But if I do wake up, it's all physical for me. I feel like there's an elephant on my chest and I have to really concentrate on my breathing. I feel like I'm really going to have a heart attack or something like physical, but I'm not really Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so what I believe,
So I
Shannon,
can't get back to sleep. In fact, sometimes,
so what I was going to say,
yeah,
Shannon, is
sorry.
what lots of times we have to separate our mistake from our identity. And where you were wrestling, you were making it your identity. I did a wrong thing versus I am bad or a stupid person. And then we have to learn how to tolerate shame without being consumed by it, because you're going to have some shame. Then there's this place we have to override the social fear of looking unreliable, which is primal. We as humans, we're deeply wired to protect our standing in groups. And then that's why we own it, because that chooses integrity over comfort. And so it's that place of identity. Like today, right before we got on here, I was talking to two buddies that heard this guy that you and I have both heard him speak personally. And we've read his book, and our son, has read his book with some of his friends. It's by Jamie Winship. And it's just like, man, living fearlessly, exchanging the lies of the world for the liberating truth of God. That's the second title, but it's called Living Fearlessly. It's like we can get in that fear and get consumed with what others think, get consumed with, hey, defines who we are. It's wild. The brain treats these threats to our self-image similarly to physical threats.
Right.
It triggers a defensive response.
And it's like we talked about AI, how AI's trained or programmed to be positive, to you. And so I could see how if I wake up in the middle of the night, putting the scenario into an AI chat and then having it say, oh, Shannon, you're just fine. You're just feeling, whatever, like giving me its robotic positive response. That could be great for a minute, but really, what am I putting in my brain? It's like, what are you believing that you're watching on? I mean, you send me a lot. I'm going to out you a little bit, but you send me a lot of reels with information that I'm like, oh my gosh, Chico, that's a scam, or that's not, I mean, even a suitcase that I ordered for you because I knew you were going to have it. Like you get locked in on
I'm a sucker for those reels.
Totally. And I told you cannot subscribe to one thing ever. That's why you don't have your own Amazon Prime account. Let's be honest. Like
that is.
He goes out on the porch and he's like, well, it's for Shannon again. And I'm like, well, duh, it's my account. It's always going to be addressed to me, even if it's for you. But you can't be trusted with subscriptions because you kind of believe, you send me reels about women too. You're like, oh my gosh, it says that if you, sleep with an onion on your foot or something, then you'll, feel better in the morning. I'm like, no, stop. Or what was it? The not the Puritan women, but the Mennonite Amish women. What do they do that you said, every day have turmeric and
honey,
all this
and all
stuff
that. Okay, but let's get back. I
think it's fine. I think it's fine to sidebar with that kind of stuff, because that's real stuff. People are really having to figure out what they're absorbing, and then that kind of information has me going places.
Okay,
if I'm in my scramble, I start to think, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Are
you still in your scramble, or are you getting out of your scramble and just taking ownership that, okay, you made a mistake, you scored wrong. That doesn't define you. That's not who your identity is.
Yeah, I'm getting out of it, but actually owning it and learning that other people's responses aren't what I assume that they're going to be. And the responses aren't what I thought they were going to be, makes everything easier. I'm like, oh my gosh, there is a lot of grace out there, and there's not, and it's not the end of the world.
In a way, it's like, okay, yes, you're owning it, you're getting out of it, but I like that you said there is a lot of grace in the world. No one is holding you to this. But man, what was going on in your head this weekend and what you were telling yourself? It's funny. I have this AA meeting in my backyard, our backyard, on Sunday nights, and it was about, in the big book, about the actor trying to run the whole show, blah blah blah. And one of the guys there, and I like him a lot, he was just talking about his boss wanted him to drive to McKinney, that's where he lives, and meet with him. And he was coming up with all these excuses, and he was assuming the worst. And he goes, and, I was talking to some people, and I finally go up there, and I'm driving for, it's a 45-minute drive. And for 40 minutes, I'm just bitching. And I finally stop and I start praying for the last 5 minutes. And I show up, and I was assuming all this stuff, and I got a raise, and I got a bonus and a new title. It's like we can create scenarios in our head that are so not true. And then we assume, like, everybody knows the saying, but in case you don't, when I assume, I'm making an ass out of you and me, and we do that, especially when we think our identity is getting challenged.
I clearly can't control anyone else's feelings, responses, opinions, of me or the world, and, world views. I can't control any of that with anyone else, but I can control it with myself. I can control my worldview or my, feelings or whatever. But I realized today that as I was working the steps to get out of my scramble, I had placed a call before I got to your office, and I was waiting to hear back from her, and I was going to have that conversation. So I was kind of prayed up, geared up for those conversations. So that situation of me actually making a big mistake, being self-aware of that, started the process of me really doing a lot of regulating. Okay. So when I
and
walk
so when you say
out to my car,
when you say regulating, you were doing regulating. So give us 3 key things that how you regulate it.
Okay. So breathing exercises.
Okay. So like the box breathing, like in for 4,
yes. Bringing
hold
in
for 4.
No, I breathe in 8.
Okay.
Hold for 4, breathe out 8. There are different ways.
There's different ways.
I have this great book called Breath as Prayer. And so it incorporates the 8 in, 4 hold, 8 out with scripture, like, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Hold, hold, hold. No one comes to the Father except through me. You say scripture in your breathing. So it's kind of a prayer.
And so, that'll help.
That was
regulate.
one thing. Yeah, that was one thing. Obviously, I'll listen to, I was listening to praise music in my car, and this is so funny. This is kind of a funny aside. So I have XM radio, and I have my favorites. There are 2 praise and worship XM stations that I have on my favorites. So I clicked on the first one, and it was God Bless Texas, that country song on the praise and worship. And I had to change it because I was like, really? God Bless Texas with his own hands brought down angel. It's a country song. It's not a worship song. But I thought that was funny that was on there because it made me feel prideful about Texas. And I was like, this isn't the point. So I changed the station, and then it was Carrie Underwood's Jesus Take the Wheel. I just cried because it was like, Jesus, take the wheel, take these hands from me, take me off this road I'm on or whatever. I mean, she has no control of her car. It is sliding on ice, and that's what the song's about. And she has her baby in the car. So I was like, let go of control. So I did the breathing. I listened to praise music because that always just helps me get in my mind. And then I did the work that I need to do, like the physical, actual work to correct
So
the
naming it,
scoring,
naming it.
naming it. Yeah, I named
Yes.
it and I went in and I made the corrections and made a list of the people that I needed to contact and talk to, and I started doing that. That's how I was regulating. Does
Well,
that make
another
sense?
way, yeah, another way you regulate it is you and I talked about it. We talked about it with someone else today too. Did some reframing. And so there's a lot of things that you can do when you regulate. You named, several of them, psychological
I
size.
didn't, for the past 2 days, I didn't drink coffee or I had a little bit of caffeine, but really minimal amount because I knew that would elevate my heart rate and everything that was already suspect, at best. And so I made choices like that to
Did you do
regulate.
you have that little face cold plunge? That's another way to regulate. Did you do any of
Yes,
that?
yes. Well, I did all lots of things, but just to regulate. And also I do this thing where I really live in the moment. And so I was trying to take every thought captive and live in the moment, especially because our youngest was home from college for Easter, and then our oldest was spending time with us, and we had family time over the weekend, and I really wanted to be present for that. And that is a part of regulating for me to
Well,
just
yeah.
I have to consciously say, I'm going to be right here, right now. I'm not going to worry about any of that other stuff.
Well, the other thing is what I like what you're talking about, and if everybody's listening right here, regulation isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about not letting the emotions drive the bus. And so you're not denying the emotions. You feel it, you acknowledge it, and then you choose your response rather than just reacting to it.
That's what
And
I'm
so
talking
that's
about.
what it's.
Controlling. I can't control anything else around me or anyone else around me. And so doing all of that for 3 or 4 days to try to get me to a place where I am right now that's better, I think allowed me to handle almost confronting my car thief and then having a young girl shaking, waiting on the police, having just seen what happened and documenting it. And I was able to comfort her because I didn't jump straight into. Now I got home and it was a little bit like shock wearing off, and you're thinking, well, that was intense. But I think all of that allowed me to, you know, be more calm.
Yes, because we're all gonna get dysregulated. We're all gonna have things that, create a racing heart, shallow beating, tightness in the chest, muscle tensions, being flushed or feeling hot, stomach, aches, whatever it is, thoughts racing, going blank, catastrophizing things, you know, difficult concentrating or making decisions, feeling overwhelmed, irritable or numb, wanting to shut down, escape, or even lash out, snapping at people, isolating. All those things are going to happen from incidents with, like for you, I appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability today. You made a mistake, scoring, the primal questions. Okay. And we gave that information. It was a lot of me having my people send you the test scores. And so it was like you weren't even working with them. And so that was like that too.
And that might even be another topic of me relapsing into codependency. And so for people that we've done lots of episodes on codependency, and we probably should re-up because it's so misunderstood. People are like, I am not codependent. But for me, I knew that would be helpful for you. I mean, I'm a helper on the Enneagram. It's like you would just text me and say, I had sent you another one, just score it. And send me back. And then you would text me, what are the results? What are the results? I was scoring that thing for you wherever I was. I mean, it was like
On vacation. Yeah.
Yes, I would drop everything and be like, oh, I really got to do this, And then at the time, I kept thinking, I'm flippantly putting this tool, and she goes, capable, very capable hands. You're way more qualified than I am and capable, but you haven't done the certification like I have. You haven't. And so I was like, I know I trusted that you would apply it properly, but then when it was wrong, I was like, oh my gosh, he's applying it properly, but it's not right. It carried just so much weight because it wasn't like I couldn't.
But I love what you did.
I think I've been doing it for you so much that when I did it for myself or for somebody, for a client, and I looked back and I knew the client, I think that's what helped me realize it, because I was like, this doesn't add up. But the people that I don't know that take it, I don't know that it doesn't add up, that I should question it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And so, but for you, it's like you did start to regulate. It didn't take away the emotions. You still there's some healthy shame there. It's like, okay, I made a mistake and you're owning it. See, lots of times unhealthy shame, we don't own our mistakes. And it didn't,
you just bury it. You try to,
and you didn't, and you have some guilt, and it doesn't define you. It doesn't make you less than. It actually, in a lot of ways, when we start to own our mistakes, it becomes so much more attractive to other people. Hey, I made a mistake. And yes, it's not the end of the world. And so you were able to do that. And I appreciate your vulnerability, and I appreciate the woman that you are. And it's like, and I won't say this because I don't know if I liked it. I can't say that. But you got a little hyper focused on getting all the tests that you had scored, over like 90 of them.
I know.
And making them all right.
I did.
It was just like, all consuming. And so,
and that's part of the scramble. It is,
yes.
But I needed it on. I knew that I needed that, just the information
off your
on
plate.
a paper off my plate and onto yours. I was already thinking of, yeah.
And I appreciate that. And so I'm glad you did that. And I like that we did this. I like this episode because we're really talking about how to regulate when we make mistakes, how to identify and investigate.
Well, self-awareness. There's just, we talked to somebody else earlier just about everything seems to be boiling down to self-awareness right now.
And that's good.
In lots of ways. And so,
well,
and even these therapists that are funny and all this stuff, they're self-aware enough of their profession that they're putting this funny stuff out. So it's all,
it's all good stuff.
Good.
But
all good.
I appreciate you and really value you. And the great thing is, you said at the beginning, kind of at the beginning of this, it's like 10 years, well, maybe halfway through, like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have even been, realized this stuff. I just like the woman that you're becoming and the work that you've done and how you kind of got out of the scramble within 3 days. It was a mistake. Yes, but you got out of the scramble within 3 days. I think that's huge progress from the work that you've done. And I want to really lift that up. And so thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good. It's all good.
You're a good woman.
Right.
And I appreciate you.
Well, until next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you, darling.
Thank you. I love you too.